Hello, and welcome back to Gunfighter Life. As always, we come at gunfighting from a Judeo-Christian worldview and values and from a real-world first-hand perspective. Today we're going to be talking about what I would consider good values in the firearms, shooting, hunting categories. Anywhere in that realm. I was thinking about a podcast to do that wasn't strictly tactical, wasn't strictly hunting, and I think this will be a good one. So good value brands, we're going to cover everything from ARs to, bolt action hunting rifles. So stay tuned, they're going to change up the housekeeping. Recently the website has been revamped, goodshepherdtraining.com, goodshepherdtraining.com. So if you want to support, if you want to check out the other podcasts, if you want to check out what else is going on, kind of a one-stop shop to find out more. Little update because I consider us a community. So my wife, whom I love very much, recently got the green light for her job to become fully remote earlier this month. And we've been wanting to get out of this city for quite some time. As I mentioned in the bio, I have been the commander and a team leader for a tactical team and active shooter response team in a fairly large metropolitan area. That area is Las Vegas, and I very much want to get out of here. So we're looking at getting out of here in a week or two. Hopefully, God willing, 3 at the most. So if you know of anybody looking for a professional gunfighter, manager of a tactical team, anything in those area of expertise in an area not like Las Vegas, give me a shout out. And again, you can contact me about that or anything else at goodshepherdtraining.com. There's a thing right on there to contact me. With that, guys, we'll roll into the bio and then we'll roll into the topic. First and foremost, I am a Christian. I make no apologies for that. It is first and foremost in my life, the greatest of all the commandments. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. I don't apologize for that. I am an alpha male, and as such I follow the ultimate male, the ultimate alpha male, the greatest man that ever lived, Jesus Christ. A little bit about my background. In addition to that, I am a veteran. I've been to war. I served in both the United States Marine Corps in the infantry and the United States Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. Joined at 17, went to war more than once. I also served in law enforcement. I worked as a police officer in LAPD doing patrol assignments and more specialized assignments, tracking down fugitives and those kind of jobs. So by God's grace, I've made it through some nasty places and times overseas and some dangerous streets in the States. Not because I'm better than any of the men that didn't, but because God chose to have mercy and grace on me. To God be the glory. I also served as a private contractor for the U.S. government, for an agency I won't specify. By God's grace, He got me through all that. In addition to that, I started competition shooting even before I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I've been blessed to win more shooting competitions than I can remember, both rifle and pistol. Mostly pistol are most of my competition and championship wins. But I have also competed in, muzzle loader, archery, shotgun, knife throwing, hatchet throwing. I've been very blessed with those talents, and I try and use them and multiply them. I've done quite a bit of hunting and outdoor, I guess we'd say, survival type activities, hunting and fishing all over this beautiful country. I have been a professional hunter and guide. Not many people today can see they've been a professional exotic and big game hunter of things like bison and exotic animals, but I have been one, and I'm very blessed for that. I've also gone out into the wilderness, by God's grace, with a Bible and a shotgun, and not just survived, but thrived. Also a professional firearms instructor for the United States Marine Corps. I was an urban warfare and desert warfare instructor under Mojave Viper. I'm also a FBI certified firearms instructor and have been for a lot of years. I'm certified by some other 3-letter government agency, NRA certified instructor, and I have taught at one of the big-name firearms shooting academies in the country. So I've been very blessed to win many competitions and be a shooting instructor for military, law enforcement, and civilians. I have served as a commander of a tactical team. My primary mission is to stop active shooters in a fairly large metropolitan area. And again, first and foremost, I am a servant of God. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. With that, guys, let's roll into today's topic. With that, guys, before we get into the topic, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for being a part of this tribe, of this community. Although I've never met you, I'd like to consider you all friends. And something guys do, especially guys that are into guns that are friends, they get around and they hang out and they talk about guns. So that's kind of what I'm hoping today is going to be. Just an informal hangout and talk about cool guns and cool gear. And what, guy that's into guns and gear doesn't like that. So without further procrastination, let's talk about some good value, in my opinion, in the firearms and shooting and hunting and tactical areas. Now, if you listen to the last podcast, that was on AR-15s. And I realized I didn't really give any recommendations on there, and that's kind of what sparked this. So that's where we'll start this episode. Some really good values in the AR-15 world. Ones that I consider a good value that have been around a while. And the first one's going to be Smith & Wesson. The Smith & Wesson M&P AR-15s, I think for the money, are fantastic. Obviously, they make a lot of different models, and they're going to make some very basic models and some more advanced models, ones with different kind of furniture, but I don't think you'd go wrong with any one of the Smith & Wesson M&P 15s. Whatever model it is, I think that they are a fantastic value. I've seen some other brands that are in the same price point that do not perform, let's just say, less than stellar performance from those other brands. But Smith & Wesson M&P, they're great, and I've run Smith & Wesson's hard for a long time, looking at all manner of firearms, not the AR-15 specifically. And whenever I've had a problem, whenever I broke something, even if it was my fault, if I send it back to Smith & Wesson, they fix it. Rock solid. Usually they even, in my memory, they've always paid for shipping even. So that's where I'm going to start. If you don't have an AR-15 and you want one, so the Smith & Wesson of whatever model, I don't think you're going to go wrong with them, and they're going to be my number one recommendation for an AR-15. Unless you have a specific reason you want a different model or make or something, and there are reasons for that. But my number one recommendation is going to be the Smith & Wesson M&P 15. The next one, and these have been around a long time, way back in my police officer days. These were a big name, and they make good stuff and they make really, really good stuff also. They've been around, like I said, quite a while, and that's Delton, D-E-L-T-O-N, Delton. And I just went to their website. They have the kits where basically all you need is just a mil-spec stripped lower, AR-15 lower, which you can usually find decently for, $50 to $100. Any prices, anything I give guys, realize that that's at the time I'm recording this. Who knows what crazy government legislation is going to come down, or coronavirus, the Echo variant. I don't see the future. Only God knows the future, not me. As I'm giving it at this time, Delton has a ton of rifle kits. The first three that I see: M16 M4 carbine rifle kit, $450. 16-inch carbine rifle, $450. Lightweight carbine, $450. The first two are in stock, the second one's not, but they've got a bunch that are in stock for $450. And if you're halfway mechanically inclined, if you can change your brakes, if you can change disc brakes on a car, something like that, you could probably tackle with watching a couple YouTube videos, building an AR-15 with the caveat that the uppers are already assembled, and these are. Really just putting pieces inside of pieces, or putting pieces together. There's no fitting, there's no filing, there shouldn't be anything like that. $450 plus the cost of the lower, so let's say $500, $525. Aren't firearms the kits, you can have them shipped right to your house. So Delton makes good stuff, a good reputable brand lower, and there you go. You're off and running with an AR-15. Fully built, and as long as you don't mess something up, it should be fully operational for that price point, even today in today's crazy market. Never heard of anyone having a rough time with Delton. And the next one I'm going to recommend in the AR-15 world is PSA, Palmetto State Armory. Now, before all this craziness, I bought an AR-15 kind of as a beater, as a training rifle. Palmetto State Armory, it was a complete kit like I'm talking about with Delton. I already had a couple lowers in case, something crazy happened. So I built it, and I want to say for $200 and something bucks or $300 and something bucks, minus the cost of the lower and the optic. And that thing, it's nitrided. I forget if it's 10 point something or 11 point something inch barrel, little short carbine. And that thing is just fantastic. I don't know that I've ever had a malfunction with it. Trying to think about if I've had a malfunction with it, and I don't think that I ever have. Build coyote with it. Kind of my go-to, one of my go-to riding around in a truck or in some kind of off-road vehicle when I was a professional hunter and ranch manager for popping coyotes or whatever else came along. It wasn't my go-to deer hunting rifle or anything, but it was a good, handy rifle. Super reliable. The nitride coating on there really impressed me. And like I said, I don't think I've ever had a malfunction with it. And I can't remember the last time I cleaned it. I said I got it as a beater, and when I went back to the tactical world being the leader of a tactical team, it kind of went with me. It's in the go-to bag that I would grab and go to a fighting rifle. It impressed me so much with its reliability and dependability. It's lightweight, and it's just simplicity. So the PSA, it's a newer, PSA has been around a few years now, so I feel comfortable giving them a recommendation, but that rifle has really impressed me, and those are good prices too. They're not, PSA carries a lot of stuff, but even their base model stuff, that one has been fantastic. So I'd recommend PSA Palmetto State Armory as well. For some tactical AR accessories, I really like from magazines the Amend 2. Amend 2 magazines are fantastic. Magpul stuff is great too. Magpul is going to be another recommendation. Magpul makes good stuff. They make good mags. They're kind of the standard now. Make a lot of other good accessories that don't cost a lot of money. Just their basic, AR furniture is great. And the other one that I'll recommend is AR Stoner. I've bought a number of AR Stoner things, whether it's a muzzle brake or an upper. Stoner is great. You find those on Midway USA. Midway USA, if you're not buying direct from the manufacturer, is kind of my go-to. I usually start there, and if I can't find something, I go somewhere else. But I guess a company to shop for a lot of this stuff, Midway USA is great. Talking about good values in handguns. A great value in handgun, and I know I say Smith & Wesson a lot, guys, and I don't apologize for that. They don't give me any kind of money, any kind of kickbacks. I don't get any kind of discount program from them. I take no bribes from them. They're just a good company, and they're made in America. And if you can support a good American-made company, why would you not? But the Smith & Wesson, everybody knows their M&Ps. I've talked about them before. I think they're fantastic. But they make one called the Smith & Wesson SD, and they make a couple different versions of the SD. I believe SD stands for self-defense, but it could stand for something else. Smith & Wesson SDs are more affordable than the M&Ps, which themselves aren't that expensive. And the Smith & Wesson SDs are fantastic guns. As far as reliability goes, they're great. As far as, being made in America, they're good. Polymer striker fire pistol made in America with, like I said, that good customer service and warranty that Smith & Wesson provides. So if you're looking for a good rock solid, semi-automatic striker fired handgun, that's a good one. Kind of the tactical world of rifles and pistol caliber carbines. Kel-Tec. The Kel-Tec makes the SU-16 series. They make a lot of different models. I forget all the different models, but they basically make a semi-automatic piston-driven rifle in the tactical realm that uses AR magazines, fires a .223. But what's really cool about it is it folds in half, which is pretty cool. So if you're looking for like a good truck gun, pretty great. They're not super expensive. Would I take it and run thousands of rounds through it through a carbine course? I don't know if I would do that, but it might hold up. I just haven't done that. If you're looking good for a good lightweight backpack, survival apocalypse kind of gun, or if you're looking for a truck gun to throw in the back of your truck that folds up, or throw in your wife's trunk or something like that, the Kel-Tec SU-16s, they're great, and they're American made again, and not a lot of money. And not everything has to be an AR, guys. And the next one's very similar, and it is also made by Kel-Tec, and it's the Kel-Tec Sub 2000. And what's cool about these, just like the SU-16 takes the common AR-15 magazines, they make these that take all manner of magazines. They make them that take Beretta magazines. They make them that take Glock magazines, which is probably by far your most common. And it's a pistol caliber carbine that, again, folds in half. It's super lightweight. Comes with iron sights, so you don't have to go out and buy those extra. They're not a lot of money. And they're just really cool. They fold in half. A great fun plinking gun. A great gun, again, if you don't want to go the full power rifle route and you want something that folds in half, super small, to go on a pack, go on a laptop case, go in something like that, go in your trunk. That's a great choice. And the Kel-Tec Sub 2000. They're great guns. And I guess if we're talking about Kel-Tec, let's talk about their handgun. If you're looking for a good affordable CCW, we're willing to carry the full size like the Smith & Wesson SD we talked about. You want something smaller, slimmer. Long before all these other companies got into the game, long before a lot of other companies got into the game, back in the day, Smith & Wesson, they made the old metallic frames with the 2 or 3 digit designations that nobody really uses much anymore. They don't even produce them anymore to the best of my knowledge. But you had them. You had the car handguns, which are great, but cost a little bit more. And then you had the Kel-Tec Pf9, and the Pf9 is still a great gun. And they're a couple of $100, a few $100, especially if you can find a used one. And they're a single stack 9mm and affordable and good double action only, which a lot of people don't like. But I think for a defensive CCW handgun is a great trigger pull, long double action. Talking about split times, shooting 3-gun, we're talking about a self-defense trigger, and I think a long double action is fine. One of my go-to guns is, a revolver that I carry, the Smith & Wesson 360 PD, which is in no way a cheap value firearm, but is a great firearm. But a semi-automatic with a long double action is fine, in my opinion, for defense. That Kel-Tec Pf9, again, made in America, does it on low cost, but a very good handgun. So don't think that you have to get the brand new SIG that holds, 15 rounds of super subcompact. If you want that, that's great. I'm not knocking that. I'm saying if you want to spend $300 or $400, whatever they cost now, and get a good, viable, affordable CCW handgun, and maybe that's where you're starting out with, and you want to see what you like and what you don't like, and that's a good place to start. I think they're a good value. Whenever you get a good value in a firearm, generally it's a good not just tool but investment as well. And on the CCW, if you are looking for a revolver, I would steer you toward trying to find a used Smith & Wesson J-frame. There are so many different models, I'm not even going to try to remember or name them. I really do like Smith & Wesson, but it is really hard to keep track of all the different models because they usually have a number designation and they're just hard to keep track of. But that was the first, when I joined LAPD, they issued us our sidearm, but we had to buy our backup gun. I got a Smith & Wesson J-frame. I still have it. I still run it. My general go-to, one of my main go-to EDC guns is a Smith & Wesson J-frame, like I mentioned, 357 Magnum 360 PD. But they make a lot of other more affordable models, and they've been around for decades and decades, so they tend to show up in used counters and gun shows and things like that. Good Smith & Wesson J-frame revolver is hard to beat for the value. Moving on, a transition between the more tactical side of things and the hunting side of things. I'll mention 2 knives, one of them more towards hunting and one of them more towards tactical. But I've said before, my go-to recommendation if you're a man to carry a knife, I think you should. And I think a great place to start for your EDC is the Buck 110 Slim. It's a great, good everyday carry. I would not be afraid to butcher an entire deer with it. When I was a professional hunter, that was almost certainly the knife that was in my pocket, was the Buck 110. And just the basic 110 Slim model is great. It's super handy. It's very unobtrusive in the pocket. And I want to say they cost under $40. They're fantastic. The other one I'm going to recommend is more of a tactical knife. Not that you couldn't fight with a Buck 110 Slim, but it's not really a tactical knife. It's more of a practical knife. This is the Bone Tactical. Bone Tactical makes a neck knife. I forget what they call it. I think it's maybe the EDC Relentless. Double check that. But he makes a neck knife that's like $30-something. Bone Tactical neck knife. I have it. I was just doing wind sprints and I took it with me when I was doing wind sprints. Like $30-something bucks. It's a very well executed. You get a good grip on it. It's a very practical design. And it came with like a more of a Gucci style chain, at least Gucci as far as I'm concerned. I'm a pretty simple dude. I switch it out for a piece of micro cord. It's like paracord but smaller. But other than that, I pretty much run it the way it came. It's a great knife. I don't generally run neck knives unless I'm doing something where I'm not wearing a belt or don't have pockets, like when I'm doing wind sprints. Sometimes I will carry the Buck 110 Slim and Silkies. Wind sprints and Silkies, I like to just run with the neck knife. A lot of people don't like to carry a belt or don't like things in their pockets or whatever. And the neck knife can be a great option for that. And if I was recommending a go-to neck knife, it would be that Bone Tactical neck knife. So check that out. if you're looking for something like that. Next, let's talk about hunting and hunting rifles. We'll start with the rifle. And I think a great value in hunting rifles is the Savage Axis. They kind of got overshadowed in budget hunting rifles by the Ruger All-Americans, and I'm sure those are fine rifles too. I hear nothing but good things about them. But I have run the Savage Axises. I got them long before I think the Ruger All-Americans existed. Every one that I've had has been ridiculously accurate. Like if I paid 3 times more money for it and it shot as good as the base model Savage Axis, I would be happy with it. They were phenomenally accurate guns. I have one in .223 and I have one in .243, and just ridiculously good guns for the money. A little bit crude, they're not polished walnut and blued steel, fine checkered masterpieces, but they are a good utilitarian budget American-made hunting tool. So the Savage Axis is where I would start if you want to spend a little bit more money but still not a lot of money. The Savage 110, or they make a couple of different models, 110, 111, something like that. This is a gun that's been around a long time, so you can usually find them used. A few years ago I saw one in 30-06 that was kind of beat up in a gun store for $100. I want to say it was $110, $100 and something dollars. And I kind of wanted to just buy it just for another rifle, but I'm not a gun collector and I have pretty much the guns that I need. I do have all the guns that I need and more. Didn't buy it, but that just goes to show you that you can find them used for a decent price. So keep your eyes open for the Savage 110, 111, I think 112s. But either the Axis or the 110s, just phenomenal guns. So if you're looking for that, affordable hunting rifle, I would start there. Now, as far as hunting ammo goes, really ammo, especially if we're talking about hunting ammo and rifle ammo, it really depends on you and what your rifle likes. Generally, I would tell you to go out and buy a bunch of different, if you don't reload, go out and buy a bunch of different boxes of ammo and shoot it and see what your gun likes with a bullet design and a bullet weight that's constructed for the task that you want it to do. Don't take a prairie dog round out to hunt deer. But a lot of times now it's hard to find ammo at all. I've lived through ammo shortages before, guys. I've lived through them that were pretty bad, but I've never lived through anything like the ammo shortage we're going through now, where almost every caliber is affected. I remember when I was professionally hunting and guiding, I had a hard time finding 30-06 for people, or 243, or pretty much anything. Usually when there's a run on ammo, it's your 22 long rifle, it's your 9mm, your 223, and I get that. It's hard to find 30-06 and 243. That's pretty bad. But you should be able to find it now, but you may not be able to go out and buy a bunch of different boxes and see what your gun likes. So we all have our favorite brands. I like Federal. I generally start there. My gun may like something else, but I try the Federal. Both of my 243 and my 308, kind of my go-to, two out of my 3 go-to hunting rifles, I use and stick with, and also my Scar 17. I stick with the Federal, just blue box. I think it's High Shock, and I think they spell it SHOK. But the Federal High Shock, it's not super expensive, and I know that it puts animals in the dirt because I've done it. So the Federal blue box High Shock, usually find it at Walmart. In fact, my wife picked me up a couple boxes of 243 tonight at Walmart. My one exception is that in my 6.5 Creedmoor Kimber Adirondack, which I didn't mention because it's not a budget rifle, super lightweight mountain hiking rifle, but it likes the Winchester XPs, and I've had great results with those. Find those, maybe give those a try. For factory ammo, they're fantastic. I experienced very good terminal performance. I killed quite a few animals and exotic animals with that round specifically, and it performed fantastic. I was going to talk about reloading, but perhaps I'll save that for the end. Let's talk about shotguns. One of the great things about shotguns, I think if you don't own any guns, you want to get into guns, my advice would be not to start with the AR-15, not to start with a Glock 17. They're both good guns. I own both of those things. But I would say start with a shotgun. If you only have one gun, shotgun is the utilitarian tool. It is the Swiss Army knife of guns. If anybody else has ever said that, but I just did. You can do anything from hunt doves with it to hunt grizzly bears with it. In fact, that's what a lot of guides use in Alaska, is a 12 gauge with slugs. So nothing else gives you quite that flexibility. It's a great home defense tool. It's a great defensive tool. When I was a cop and I had any number of patrol carbines I could have used, even, machine guns, like full assault rifles, like fully automatic M4s, when I had access to those, a lot of times I would still just grab the 12 gauge if I was going into a house because it's a better tool for the job. The 12 gauge is super versatile. It's great. Great values in those if you're looking to get into the world of guns, or if you're just looking for a good quality shotgun, or you have a super high-end shotgun and you just want a shotgun to just on the rainy days or the crappy days, or want to put in your trunk, and if it gets a little rust on it, you take some steel wool to it and you don't lose any sleep at night. The Maverick 88s are great. They are basically a copy of the Mossberg 500, an allowed copy by Mossberg, not like some crazy Chinese copy. I want to say, an aluminum receiver and some other things that make them more budget friendly, but I've never known anybody to have any problems with the Maverick 88. They are great. I don't really run them, and the reason for that is just I've run side-by-side tests with those in the 870s. I've run 870s for a long time. I generally shoot the 870s better. I gravitate towards those, and I gravitate towards semi-autos if I can get them, and I run Benellis. I run a Benelli. But the Maverick 88 is a fantastic shotgun. And I don't know what they cost now, but not too long ago they were under $200 if you could find them at whatever the store local to you sold them. The Maverick 88 is fantastic. And the other one I'll recommend is the Remington 870 Express. That's kind of the more budget-friendly model. I haven't checked them recently, but not too long ago, they were $299. They were right under or above that $300 mark with generally interchangeable chokes. The Express, they're great. It's the base model. It comes with whatever the base model wood is, whatever the base, parkerizing or phosphate coating is on there. But if you're looking for a general purpose shotgun for $300, that Remington 870, they're great. I find that for me they're more ergonomic than the 500 clones, which include the Maverick 88. But it may be the reverse for you. You may love, the 500. I think the 500 design has a lot of advantages over the 870. I just don't shoot it as well. But you may not find that. But either way, this one costs probably maybe 50% more than the Maverick 88. But the Remington 870 Express is a great gun. Very utilitarian, very multi-purpose. So I would say look there for shotguns. I generally won't tell you to stay away from any certain brands, but I will say try and stay away from the Chinese clones of these brands, the cheap Chinese clones that seem like a really good deal, but I literally don't know that I've ever seen one that somebody got and shot more than a couple rounds through that didn't have problems, and that's not a good value. I'd rather see you get a single shot break open from Walmart for $120 that worked than a cheap Chinese clone that breaks. Alright, for the end, I'll throw in a little bit of reloading. If you're looking for reloading to get into reloading, or good value in loading, I would go towards the Lee. There's some nicer, more high-end stuff, yes, but it's much more expensive. The Lee stuff is fantastic for the money. I just looked it up. They're single-stage press, and if you're getting into reloading, to save yourself a lot of headaches and frustration and possibly throwing things across the room because you're upset, start out with a single-stage press, get a progressive later. Generally, even if you have a progressive, you may want to work up and figure your loads out on a single stage, and then once you get what you want, go to the progressive and make a bunch of it. So consider that a tip on top of the tactical tip at the end. But the Lee Anniversary set, which comes with pretty much everything you need except for the components and the dies, is Midway USA right now. I think it used to be called the Lee Anniversary set. They may have changed it. I haven't looked it up in years, but they have it right now on Midway USA. Lee Challenger Breech Lock Single Stage Press Anniversary Kit for $179. Ships free in stock. That is a deal. That is fantastic. Get a set of Lee dies in 308 or 9mm or 38 special, whatever you are looking to get into, and you're into the world of reloading. Alright guys, with that, we're at about 30 minutes into this episode, which is pretty good, I think. I don't want to be the guy that rambles on and just makes up content. So I think with that, we'll start winding it down. Again, thanks for listening. If you like this podcast, you want to check out some other ones done, please go to goodshepherdtraining.com. Lots of stuff on there, ways to support more visually oriented stuff. If you want to contact me, Again, just a shout out for this podcast. Looking forward to getting out of Las Vegas very soon. I'm sure God will provide, but maybe He'll provide through one of the listeners. So if you know of any employment opportunities, give me a shout out. With that, guys, tactical tips, and I may throw out a few here. If you're looking to get into the world of reloading, talking about reloading high volume pistol, suggest going with powder that has quite a bit of volume. There's a few dangerous things you can do in reloading, and one of them is double charging, meaning you load the case with powder and then you forget, you get distracted, something's not working, especially on a progressive pistol we talked about, something gets jammed, and you go back and you charge that case again. It's fairly easy to do with some powders like red dot or blue dot. Not that those are bad powders. Take up a lot of volume in the case, so you could double charge a case and not notice it. So if you're starting out, I would recommend a powder that where if you double charge it, it either overflows or gets very close to overflowing so that you can easily see that you double charge that case. The powder that I've used for years and years is 700X. Got it. I won a lot of competitions reloading with that powder at 9mm, 700X. It's good for 9mm, it's good for 38 special. 700X has quite a bit of volume. One that I haven't personally used, but I've heard is the same way, and even more so, is Trail Boss. So if you're loading a more old school load like 45 Long Colt or 38 Special, the Trail Boss might be another good option where you can't really, you still could, but it's a much easier to notice a double charged case. So look to those powders. Another one, a good thing to use if you're trying to get an economy friendly hunting bullet to reload, the Spear Hot Cores. Those are great. They come in a lot of different calibers, a lot of different grain weights. The Spear Hot Cores, they're not a lot of money. And here's a good tactical tip. If you don't reload, I want to just throw out a tactical tip that only applies to a very small margin of people. I remember when I was a cop and we'd get a gun that was super filthy, like let's say a really filthy bolt carrier group. One of the things to do is soak it in Simple Green. Now check with the manufacturer, check with whatever. I don't know if it's good for all finishes, but generally for like a military firearm, something like that, Simple Green, even diluted, works pretty well. Soak it in and kind of let it sit and come back later with a bronze brush or whatever it is. Again, check with the finish, make sure it's okay. But Simple Green for cleaning guns. Another one, from the Marine Corps, I think the military cleaning manuals even still recommend it, but just hot soapy dish soap like Dawn or some other dish soap from Dollar Tree, hot soapy water, and clean that gun part, assuming it doesn't have little fine areas that are going to hold water, but something like an AR-15 bolt carrier group or something like that. Hot soapy water, make sure it's dry. Don't leave water in the bore, obviously, or something like that. Don't assemble it wet. But just hot soapy water can be fantastic for cleaning guns. So, I guess those will be the tactical tips for the day. Thanks, guys. Have a blessed day. And we'll close with a scripture. Exodus 15, the Lord is a man of war.